So, shall we begin?
So, in our relatively short time here, one thing that's become very clear is that collaboration is key to everything that goes on at Bad Robot. In fact, we've talked to picture editors who are now sound editors, and you're one of them. How did that come to be?
Ben Rosenblatt, the post-production supervisor here, called me one day and said, "You're probably not going to want to do this, but we have this crazy idea to try to keep a running 5:1 mix in Media Composer while the editors are cutting. To do that, there's not a lot of assistant editors who know how to use Pro Tools, and there's not a lot of sound designers and sound mixers who know how to use Media Composer very well. So we decided that Media Composer is really the more important skill to have, because that's what, this is the same application that the editors are working in, and the whole point is to try to keep it as seamless for the editors as possible." So he just asked me if I was interested in trying something new, and I said yes.
So this new process that you're using, it must be out of a need. I mean, what was it that drove you guys to want to try and work things this way?
Well, it's always a problem on these big films that you're constantly chasing the cut, because the cut is changing constantly. It's only natural that it would. The film is still coming together. Sound is influencing picture, picture is influencing sound, visual effects are coming in, they're changing the flow of the cut, new lines are being written, it's just the nature of how these things evolve. And it happens so fast that it's always very difficult to keep a dual system happening, especially if you're not literally in the same building using the same storage, and you have to have copies of everything everywhere, and you're constantly keeping each other up to date. That can become a full-time job, and it takes away from the actual creative work.
For many, many years, post-production was handled a certain way, a very linear fashion. You edit, you get the edit to a certain place, and you're ready to turn over to sound. Picture in a certain place, you're ready to turn over to color correction. There is temp color correction, temp sound mixing. You prep for a little, mini screening. It's an extraordinarily expensive process. And beyond that, all of that work you throw out, because when you finish the film, whether it's a digital intermediate and a final mix, or back in the day when there was negative cutting and photochemical finishes, you would literally be starting over. I mean, any temp work that you've done would just be thrown out. That wouldn't be necessary if the software was designed in such a way to let you take advantage of higher quality works in progress as we go. And when we were on Super 8, JJ came to me and said, my dream would be to be able to do a temp mix as we go. That's all in 5.1, so that when we go to screen the movie at any point, we have a really, really great sounding track. Same with color correction. And I heard him and I was like, well, on the next one, I'll see what I can do. Then, as we were crewing up for our current movie, the Star Trek sequel, I remember Media Composer 6.0 came out. And I got an email from Evan Schiff, who is one of my good friends and a wonderful assistant editor. And he said, "Hey, did you see this? Avid now has a 5.1 audio capability." And I was like really, really excited about it, because I realized that here right now we have the ability to do what JJ wanted. This is exactly what he asked for.
Fortunately, the timing was such that the new version of Media Composer had come out, which has the 5.1 and 7.1 mixing, and we were able to actually do this, because up until recently it wasn't really an option. And for the company to have the faith in the technology and the faith in us to say, try this crazy thing that no one's really done before, and let's see if we can pull it off. And I remember when we did the first playback of the first reel, we all kind of looked at each other and said, you know what? It worked. It sounds like a movie. Like, it really feels pretty damn good.
I'm a little surprised at the moment that Marianne and Mary Jo are being so tolerant of the number of tracks that we're adding to their sequence and the number of clips that we're adding to their sequences. But it's all for the greater good, and it sounds phenomenal, and I think that they're really liking what they're hearing. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to edit and keep everything in sync across 16 audio tracks and however many video tracks that they've got going. But I think it's well worth it.